Welcome to Back in Crime.
This holiday season, we're not unwrapping gifts, we're unwrapping crimes.
From the shadows of history to the cold files of the FBI, we're pulling back the ribbon on mysteries that haunted Christmas past.
I'm Todd Hiles, retired U.S. Secret Service agent.
And I'm Stuart Fillmore, retired FBI agent. Together, we're the Texas Crime Travelers.
In this special series, we'll take you under the crime scene tape of cases that shocked communities and baffled investigators during Christmas.
Stories of greed, betrayal, and desperation, wrapped in tinsel, but dripping with suspense.
So pour yourself some eggnog, lock the doors, and join us.
This is Crimemas, Volume 1.
Here we go with another episode during Crimemas.
Yeah, and thanks for all. We've had a great reaction to this, and it's just a great little term, Crimemas. So people have really responded to this. I don't know. There's just something really cool about crimes during Christmas. I don't know what it is, but it just is there.
Yeah, it's when festive cheer meets criminal fear.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, Stuart, your earliest recollection of right and wrong as a child was probably when you were told Santa Claus has a naughty and nice list.
Okay, I'll go along with that. Yes,
I'm sure you did not want to end up on the naughty list and not get any Christmas presents.
Exactly. You want the Christmas presents, man.
You don't want Santa Claus to skip your house. And really, by skipping, I mean that he would not break into your house and enter your residence.
Because technically that's what he's doing, right?
Right, right. But we have to, we know that sometimes there are people pretending to be Santa Claus and they do bad things.
Yes.
In Texas, one of the most famous crimes is when Santa Claus robbed a bank in Cisco, Texas.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and we've actually previously talked about that.
Right. And again, at that time, that was the largest manhunt for Santa Claus in Texas history by law enforcement. It was the first time an airplane was used in apprehending Santa Claus.
Yeah, it was like 1927, I think, or so, almost 100 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah. Texas Rangers were involved in that case there.
Yeah.
But today, we're diving into one of the most surreal crimes that happened in Tennessee's history. It's about a man who robbed a bank dressed as Santa Claus.
So Tennessee has their own Santa Claus bank robbery.
Right.
Yeah.
And I say a man, it's going to turn out to be a young man. And kind of crazy is that later he's going to rob another bank, and this time he's dressed in another costume. But keep listening to hear about that one. So this is the true story of a 21-year-old man. And again, this man, his crimes are so bizarre that they're going to sound like fiction. And when I say, fiction, they're not fiction. They're real.
No, this is real.
They're real, they're dangerous, and they're deadly.
Yeah.
So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's unwrap this twisted tale.
I love all the Christmas imagery.
So here it is, December 22nd, 2009, and we're in a city, we're kind of near Nashville, Tennessee. And the SunTrust Bank is just humming with holiday energy. Tellers wore festive pins, customers chatted about Christmas plans. Mm-hmm. I'm almost certain that the scent of pine and peppermint lingered in the air.
Yeah, I mean, that's the vision I see in my. It's like the start of Home Alone or something,
Right. The Christmas lights, everything like that going on. The Christmas tree, probably in the bank lobby.
Sure.
The ornaments.
Maybe a guy out ringing a bell out front.
True. And then all of a sudden, the bank door opens and in walks Santa Claus.
And probably someone will see that and not immediately think that's a threat.
No, I mean, he's tall. He's wearing the full red costume. He has hat, coat, boots, and a thick white beard.
Okay.
But something's off because he's wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, well, you don't see that. That does kind of throw the whole look off, doesn't it?
Right. And a couple of the witnesses said that he kind of walked with a stiff gait. And instead of carrying a sack of toys, he carried a red duffel bag. Now, he does greet the room with a booming Merry Christmas as he walks up to the counter. But then all of a sudden, he pulls out a handgun. Mm-hmm. And, the room probably froze. Tellers stared in disbelief. One customer dropped her purse. Another one whispered, "Is this a joke?" But it's not. And
And I think too, a lot of times in those circumstances that just you're not expecting that. No, people, you're expecting to just go through your day. You go to the bank and you just do the regular errands. A lot of times, I think when traumatic events happen like that, your first instinct, or there's some instinct rather, to explain this. Your mind wants to make sense of this, and being right in the middle of a bank robbery is just not on the it wasn't on the schedule.
Yeah, it's not
so
on
your
your
brain's
radar.
trying to make sense of that, and it's like clearly it is what it is, but it's hard to believe. And it's interesting to hear some of the initial reactions to it.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times we've gone to shooting scenes, and witnesses always say, "Oh, I thought it was fireworks."
Yes. Well,
When-
that's the case we know from the Kennedy assassination that I've been looking so much into. There were so many witnesses thought that that they heard firecrackers.
Right. That they didn't hear a gunshot.
Yeah.
But back to the bank here. Again, this is not a joke. Santa demands cash, and in fact, he says this quote, "I need money to pay my elves."
Okay.
Kind of strange to say.
Sure. They've been working hard.
Right. Now, we've talked about before this idea of investigative gold, something that maybe the investigators comes across in a case and they really don't tell the public.
Sure.
And this might have been one at this time where, the law enforcement investigating this probably will not release this statement that he made. They might hold that in their pocket. But again, it's a line that's
and that's done for a lot of reasons. For whatever reason, a lot of times in cases, you'll get false confessions. People that want to jump up and say, "I was the Santa Claus bank robber," and by holding back that information that's not public, that's a way to test if this guy really is who he is.
Yeah, because they can easily ask him, "Then what did you say when you demanded?"
Exactly. Yep.
And again, to me, it's just a line that's so absurd that it really feels like it's a scene from a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this gun is real, and so is the fear in the bank. And, he waves this gun around, he orders everyone to the ground, and he just starts stuffing bills into his bag, and within minutes, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's out the door. They think that he sort of got into this gray sedan as a passenger, but he just vanishes into the streets in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Local police department responds within minutes. Of course, the officers cordon off the area, but they don't see this car. They interview witnesses. They review surveillance footage from the bank surveillance cameras. And again, this Santa Claus disguise worked. The beard, the glasses, and hat, because it kind of obscured his face.
Yeah.
And they have no idea who this bank robber is. The getaway car did not have license plates, and in the holiday traffic, it sort of made it difficult to spot in all this chaos.
Right. Yeah. And that's very typical.
Yeah.
Of how these things are. Now, a lot of times in bank robberies, what will happen is they'll use a stolen car as the getaway car, and then use the stolen car to get away from the bank, and then when they to get to a car that's been previously hidden or stashed, and that's where that's their other getaway car, which is probably their own.
Right. And I remember working bank robberies as a police officer. When the call comes out, it wasn't really that necessary that you race to the bank.
Yeah.
It was
be on the lookout for a certain
for a certain car speeding away, something like that.
Exactly.
To where, I would think, hey, if that person robbed the bank, where are they going to go next?
Mm-hmm.
Are they heading towards the freeway?
Mm-hmm.
Are they heading towards a different street? And start putting myself in that position
Exactly.
to see.
Yeah.
And again, in this one, it's gone. The car's gone. They have no idea. The FBI is called in. And again, bank robbery being a federal crime, the FBI is going to be involved.
Yep.
And the FBI agents dubbed him the Santa Bandit. Now, in your career as an FBI agent,
Yeah.
were you ever responsible for coming up with naming a bank robbery or a case title?
No.
I mean,
I wonder about that sometimes.
who comes up with those ideas?
Yeah.
Is there like one person at the FBI that's their sole job?
Exactly. That's one of the things, I think in our intro we talk about how we were, on the street and we were where the rubber met the road. That's going to be, we were too busy out trying to find this car, this getaway car, or looking at the video from the bank robbery, the bank surveillance camera. Not coming up with some catchy little name for that. I don't know who does that stuff.
That would be a cool job, because I'm just thinking off the top of my head in the last few years or so, there's been stuff like Operation Polar Cap and Operation Ghost Stories.
Yeah. There's always some operation. Yeah.
Right.
No, I never was in on the naming of the operation.
And the bank robbers were always bandits. And
Yes.
I think one of my favorite is the Blues Bandit. And he was a bank robber from Phoenix who dressed like the Blues Brothers.
Okay, yeah.
He had the dark suit, sunglasses, and a fedora.
Sure, yeah. Well, there was one in Dallas in the late 80s called the Dapper Bandit. Yeah. And he dressed very sophisticated, and he had the sunglasses, and, it was a wig and everything. But, he had this kind of almost like a playboy look about him.
And that was in Dallas.
That was in Dallas,
Dallas, Texas.
Yep. And he got caught. He's in the getaway car and he gets stuck in traffic, and the police surrounded him. And I think if I remember right, this has been like many years ago, but I think he shot himself as the police closed in. But it wasn't a fatal wound.
All right. Well, back to Santa Claus robbing the bank in Nashville. So the FBI launches a multi-state investigation into the Santa Bandit, but this young man vanished like a ghost in the snow.
He's back to the North Pole.
Right. Now, sadly, there have been numerous crimes committed over the years where bad guys dressed up like Santa. In fact, bad Santas have robbed numerous banks and businesses. But in this Santa Bandit case, there's no leads, and this case goes cold.
Yeah. That will happen in bank robberies. And just going back to that Dapper Bandit case in Dallas, that guy lived a very normal, quiet life, and when he'd need money, he'd go do the bank robbery. But he didn't tell anyone about it. He didn't spend. He wasn't flashy with his money. There was nothing that would give any indication. That's what he was doing. And if one were inclined to do that, that would be the way to be successful at it.
And this one, sort of follows that pattern, because 3 months later, it's March 17th. 2010, and it's St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. Don't tell me.
Well, we're about 30 miles northeast of Nashville, and what do you think happens?
So it's St. Patrick's Day. He did the Christmas robbery, Santa Claus. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he did the bank robbery as a leprechaun.
Well, we're at the First State Bank.
Okay.
Employees are wearing green so that they don't get pinched.
Sure. Okay. Right.
Shamrocks probably decorated the lobby. It's a cheerful morning, and then the bank door opens, and in walks a leprechaun.
A leprechaun. Okay.
I mean, he has the green coat, the green top hat, fake red beard. But it's not. We're not watching a parade here, right?
Yeah.
This is not a parade.
Sure.
This leprechaun is not bringing good luck and fortune. He is there to rob the bank. This robbery lasts just over a minute. Again, the young man dressed as a leprechaun, he stormed in waving a .45 caliber handgun, and he demands cash.
Yeah.
And again,
we're somewhat making light of this a little bit because to me it's a funny image of seeing a grown man walk in and dressed as a leprechaun. But it's serious. This is dangerous stuff.
Right. Especially when he has the handgun.
Exactly.
He demands cash. Again, he makes that comment about having to pay his elves.
Yeah.
In this one, there's a getaway driver outside in that same sedan. But this time in the bank, somebody hit the silent alarm. And again, that silent alarm doesn't let the robber know that law enforcement is coming. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when a silent alarm is tripped, the dispatcher will tell you it's a silent alarm. Mm-hmm. And you as the responding officer, then, you're going to come in a little bit different.
Well, you're not going to come in with the sirens blaring.
Right, but you're not going to pull up right up into the front of the bank again if there's a good chance that the bank is being robbed as you're getting en route there.
Yes.
Again, you're going to be looking for somebody running out the door or whatever like that.
Right.
So on this day at approximately 12:28 p.m., the police dispatcher's voice with urgency says, "Armed robbery in progress. Suspect in costume. Proceed with caution." The young man bursts out of the bank, his green hat flapping in the wind. He dives into the passenger seat, and the getaway car, the driver probably stepped on the gas pedal, and that car is gone.
Sure.
When the police arrive at the scene, they cordon off the area again. But this is where they get a huge break in the case because they are alerted to the location of the getaway car because a witness to the bank robbery is driving behind it.
Okay. Yeah.
So within minutes, law enforcement catches up to the getaway car. The police attempt to stop it, but the vehicle fled. And again, a pursuit is ensued at that point. In other words, Stuart, the chase was on. The sedan tears through city streets, going through neighborhoods, strip malls.
Yeah. Again, that's a dangerous situation to.
Well, two patrol cars are following behind. Again, sirens blaring, lights flashing. This is people are watching this from their windows. They're running to their windows to see this go by. And the young man, he leans out of the passenger window of the getaway car. The gun is in his hand, and he starts opening fire on the two pursuing police cars.
With a handgun.
With his handgun.
Okay.
Bullets hit both police cars, and actually one of them is disabled. Dash cam footage will later show bullets striking the patrol car.
Yeah.
One round shatters the windshield. The other one hits the hood. Officers radio in. They got shots fired. Suspect is armed and dangerous.
Sure.
Now, as you can imagine, this is probably the local law enforcement that's following him, but also hearing this is going to be the sheriff's department through the police dispatchers. They're hearing it because the sheriff's department now gets involved with this pursuit. This pursuit or chase, it lasts about 7 minutes. Covered several blocks.
Yeah.
But it ends near a subdivision on the outskirts of town.
Okay.
The suspect's vehicle is damaged by gunfire, and just like this erratic driving that he's doing, because the car just sort of, I guess, sputters and slows down.
Yeah.
And the getaway driver kind of swerves to the side of the road into a grassy field, and then the car just stops. The driver and the young man, they bail out of the getaway car, and they just take off running. Officers exit their vehicles. Of course, their weapons are drawn.
Yeah.
The young man and the driver, they're running through this field, but there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So
is there a helicopter involved as well?
I don't think so. But in this field, I mean, there's no trees. There's no cover.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide.
No, it's just open land and this wall of police behind them in pursuit. The young man turned and fired multiple rounds, and the officers returned fire. Witnesses are going to report that they just heard this huge, rapid exchange of gunfire, then silence. Later, the police are going to believe that the young man actually shot himself as the officers were closing in. However, the getaway driver was killed in the crossfire.
Okay.
No police officers are injured or hit by their gunfire. This field will become, this giant crime scene.
Yeah, sure.
And you can just imagine this yellow tape crimes, fluttering in the wind.
Sure.
Reporters show up there. Inside the getaway car, the police are going to find the stolen money.
Yep.
And then later, the FBI are going to make a statement that they searched the young man's residence, and there they recovered the Santa Claus suit.
Okay.
And then again, this is when the FBI is going to, report like later on that during these two bank robberies, there was that statement was, I had to pay my elves.
Yeah.
It was used in those bank robberies.
That's generally what we call a clue.
Right.
That might be the same suspect.
Yeah, that's investigative gold. That statement right there.
Yeah.
Now, I told you early on that there was a witness following the getaway car.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so this is,
I mean, and that's really key to how the police got on the chase so quickly.
right. And what's so sort of weird about this is that this is how this came about. So just minutes before he robbed the First State Bank,
Yeah.
as a leprechaun, he walked into a different bank that was right next door.
Okay. Yeah.
So when he walked into that first bank, everyone in the bank turns and they observe him because he's got this, I mean, it's like a 2-foot high green top hat on. You know, he's got this vest on, this fake red beard, this wig. And when he walks into that bank, he sort of just freezes.
Yeah.
He looks around and then he immediately leaves.
Yeah.
And the bank manager and this witness in this bank, they feel this is odd.
Yeah.
And so they actually go to the front window of their bank just in time
Just
when
to
they
see,
see
hey,
him.
what is this guy doing?
Right.
Maybe not even necessarily that he's going to rob a bank, but something is not right here.
Right. Yeah, for him to come in, not
Yeah.
say anything, and walk out.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get to the window, they're watching, and sure enough, they see the leprechaun come running out of the First State Bank and jumps into the getaway vehicle.
Yeah.
And, you know, the bank manager says, hey, I think the leprechaun just robbed that bank. So the witness is able to get into his car that's parked nearby, and he follows the getaway car.
That's a brave thing to do. Not necessarily a smart thing to do either.
Right. And again, he's the one that calls 911, and he reports the location of the getaway vehicle. But, you know, all this, you know, I had said earlier that this is just such a surreal crime, and it's just such a surreal ending to these robberies, because that's not who these two kids were. You know, a bank robber is the furthest from who they really were.
Really? Okay.
And, you know, as an investigator, I mean, I could not imagine having to make the next of kin notification to their parents.
Yeah.
Like, how do you begin to tell these parents that the child was killed in a shootout with the police after robbing a bank?
Yeah. And this was nothing that would have been on the parents' radar at all.
Not at all.
No criminal history that would indicate that this is something.
Nothing like that. And again, you know, the case was closed that day, of course, but you know, the questions remain. Like you said, they were not career criminals. You know, a lot of their friends described the young man as he was a little eccentric, but he was charming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but inside his house, investigators found notes, maps, and part of the costumes that he'd used. Their theory is that he planned these robberies with a lot of detail. In fact, he rehearsed his lines, they think.
Wow. And that was his catchphrase.
Right.
Yeah.
To pay the elves.
You got to pay my elves.
But again, the motive to me remains so murky.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't think there was mental illness. You know, maybe it was a desire to become famous.
Was it a financial need? You know,
I don't know.
Drug habit to pay for?
It seemed like they both were in college.
Yeah.
The local news station, you know, dubbed him the holiday Heister. But again, you know, the nature of these crimes, it really blurs that line between comedy and tragedy.
Yeah, it does. It really is. I mean, it's a sad story. But yeah, my first instinct is to laugh when you tell me this guy walks in dressed up like a leprechaun.
Right.
It's just it's an incongruent thing. They just don't fit together.
You know, the classmates of both these young men, and especially like the getaway driver, they're interviewed by local news stations.
Yeah.
And these classmates, they're stunned. You know, they just can't understand what possessed their two friends to rob banks. I mean, these robberies, I guess, are just bizarre and tragic, you know?
It's not anything that I really have ever heard of before.
Yeah, it's just but I think it's a unique thing, and that's why we included it in Crimemas.
No, it's a great story.
So next time you're at the mall, Stuart, and you see Santa,
Yeah.
just smile. Smile,
Exactly, 'cause
but
you don't
stay
know.
alert.
Yeah, exactly. You got to stay alert. You don't know.
Yeah, it could be bad, Santa. Hey, as always, thank you guys so much for listening. And as a listener, hit that subscribe or follow button.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it.
Hope you've enjoyed this case. Share it with your friends and come back and join us for another episode when we take you under the crime scene tape.
This has been the Back in Crime podcast presented by Texas Crime Travelers Todd Hiles and Stuart Fillmore. We are the executive producers. Grace Hiles is the producer and director. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel at Texas Crime Travelers.